We all know Donald Trump ran for office for 2 reasons. Number 1, okay, to get out of jail for free. Number 2, to make more money. How do you make more money if you're Donald Trump? You could either A, put your name on a bunch of really shitty licensing deals, or B, pass tax cuts. And then that way you help out you and you help out your billionaire oligarchical friends. And it's a win-win for everyone. I want to talk about Trump's expansion of the 2017 Tax Cuts and Jobs Act. But before I talk about that, I have a very special piece of paper over here. It is my W-2 because I have a day job and I have to pay taxes. Lovely. So every week I get my check. And every week I see these 4 lines deducted: Medicare, Social Security, federal income, and state income tax. And I'm not gonna lie, every week it hurts me to see 20% of my check get taken from me like that. I really think that I could use those extra $50, but whatever. Who am I to decide? Oh my god, it was literally 100 this time. What the fuck? I have no issue paying with taxes though, okay? Obviously no one likes to see their money get taken from them, but I have no issue, okay? Because when I was growing up, I went to public school. I got to my public school on public transportation. I was on the MTA bus. I was on the LIRR. When I was at my public school that I got to on my public transportation, that was driven on the roads that are cleaned by the sanitation department, I also got free and reduced lunch. That opened me up to possibilities and opportunities like eating. That's so exaggerated, but it also gave me access to fee waivers for college applications that I wouldn't have been able to afford otherwise, and for AP tests that I wouldn't have been able to afford otherwise, and for college courses that I took in high school that I wouldn't have been able to afford otherwise. Bottom line, a lot of opportunities were given to me because I couldn't afford things. And I am not going to generalize everyone that is wealthy, but I will say that the majority of people that make money, that have the luxury of being independent, do not have that same sense of community, of feeling the need to give back. And I'll give you an example. Let's say Marissa and Jacob both live in a low-income neighborhood, right? And Jacob lives alone, but Marissa has like 2 younger siblings and she works a couple jobs and she takes care of them. And Jacob sees that she's struggling. Jacob isn't rich himself. Jacob has student loans. Jacob has credit card debt, but he sees that he is in a bit of a better position than Marissa. And so every now and then Jacob will just like buy dinner for them so that Marissa doesn't have to worry about it. Or he'll watch one of Marissa's siblings so Marissa doesn't have to worry about it. Just because he's in a position where he's able to do that and he sees that she's struggling and he feels the need to give back a little bit. Now take that exact same situation and put it in a high income neighborhood. That would never happen because Marissa would have a babysitter and Jacob would want to be keeping all of his money to himself. Do you get what I mean? You wouldn't need to rely on other people because you have the money to do it yourself. Having money gives you a certain level of independence and affords you that luxury. It's not a bad thing, okay? It just is. It just is a thing. And so it just is the case that the people that end up paying taxes consistently are those that are lower income. It just is the case that billionaires do not consistently pay taxes. It just is. It just exists. And all of those loopholes exist for billionaires to like pay their accountants to do whatever magic with the money that they do, whatever magical numbers that they do so that they can get out of paying taxes, okay? If those loopholes exist, I am all for billionaires taking advantage of them. But I simply do not want to hear a single thing when I take advantage of the loopholes that are given to me via my free and reduced lunch. You know how many times I've been referred to as a welfare queen by the Magadonians or right-wingers? Like, it's the same concept. People taking advantage of welfare systems, people taking advantage of the IRS tax system. Like, I don't understand why we're getting mad at the people that are doing it to like live their lives and not at the people that are doing it to buy another yacht. I sound very socialist right now, guys. I'm not socialist. I'm a capitalist. I want money. I want to make all of the money in the world. I also do think that to function in a capitalist society, you need some type of law and order. You need a government system. You need courts. You need a traffic system. You need cops. You need a fire system. You need sanitation. You need a desalination system. You need a water system. You need like all of these things that are just existing in the world that we just use, they have to come from somewhere. And we have to constantly be keeping up with those things. Very philosophical introduction to a very non-philosophical debate, which is the failure that is trickle-down economics. This is trickle-down economics, also known as supply-side economics, also known as Reaganomics. But the idea is basically we give tax cuts to the rich people, the top people, the people that are owning businesses, right? And once they take their fair share over here, it'll then trickle down to the middle class, which will then trickle down to the lower class. And then everyone takes what they need and everyone gets a little bit of some. And with small companies, with small businesses, like minus 150 people, if you talk to the average like small business owner, they're gonna say that when they get tax credits, when they get extra money, yes, they do invest it back into the business. They do give their workers a raise. They do get better equipment and better technology, and they advance and they use that money for good things. But when we start talking about enterprises, like multi-million-dollar enterprises, businesses with 500, 1,000 plus workers in them, do you think that rich billionaire CEO at the top is gonna give his extra money away to all of his workers? Like, do you, like, what? Come on. And so this is what ends up happening instead, where the people at the top just end up taking more and more and more and more and more, and that's it. And then they just don't give any to the people at the bottom. Now, in theory, right, supply side economics should work. In theory, because if you have extra money, if I am a business owner and I get an extra $1,000, I'm gonna give my workers a raise, I'm gonna get better equipment, I'm gonna revolutionize my company with that extra money, okay? But why couldn't you have done that before? Because anything that you spend towards your business is a business expense, is a write-off. Like it's a running kind of like a joke or a meme when you have a business of like, it's okay, I'll just write it off. Because it's like, oh, it's free. Even though you still have to pay for it, you don't have to pay taxes for it. And so now you feel like you're getting something for free out of it. I don't know. But for example, like this little YouTube thing I do, if I were to go into Best Buy right now and buy like a new microphone and I save that receipt and I submit that receipt to the IRS and I say, I bought this for my job, I wouldn't have to pay taxes on it because it's for my job. And we want you to be spending money for your job. We want you to be stimulating the economy like that. So all of these things that all of these business owners are saying that they would do if only they had the money, if only they could get those tax credits. It's like, it's kind of backwards because you have those tax deductions already. Like, is that not a tax deduction? Why do you need an extra tax deduction on top of that in order to invest in your business if you can already invest in your business with the tax deduction? We saw it with Reagan. He did tax cuts. Yes, it stimulated the economy a little bit. Yes, it helps a little bit, but it's not effective to the intended audience, right? If you're running on this big populist platform, oh, I'm going to be for the working people, I'm going to help the working people, and then you pass a tax cut that 80% of the benefits go to the top 0.1%. 0.1%. Like, yes, some of the tax credits went to the middle class, some of them, okay, but the vast majority were being given to the ultra wealthy, to the wealthy. And they want to expand them. And they're trying to make it seem like if they don't, it's going to sink the economy.
If we do not fix these tax cuts, if we do not renew and extend, then we will be facing an economic calamity. And as always, with financial instability, that falls on the middle and working class people. We will see a gigantic middle class tax increase. We will see the child tax credit halved. We will see the deductions halved. So it will be what we call in economics, it has the potential for a sudden stop.
Okay, we will see a huge tax increase. We will see the child tax credit half, and we will see deductions halved. How does that make any sense?
And as I said, traditionally with these sudden stops, it falls on working Americans.
Thank you. And I would just say to you, you may be aware of this, but the Tax Foundation has indicated that if we do sustain these tax cuts and protect them from expiring and stop this tax increase, that the extension of this policy would increase the growth of the GDP in the United States by 1.1% over time. Similarly, and I don't know how they came up with the same number, but the National Association of Manufacturers indicates that if we don't extend this tax relief, that there will be a 1.1% reduction in growth of jobs and development in our economy. It seems to me that as we are talking about what to do for America, that protecting America from a 1% reduction versus a 1% growth in GDP is a critical objective. Could you just give a little bit of...
Do you know how much the GDP would shrink if we deported all undocumented immigrants? Sorry. If we care about the GDP now, I just want to bring that up. I've been told for the past 2 years that the GDP doesn't matter and that all of these macroeconomic trends are just like completely ridiculous and don't actually show any type of consumer sentiment, but okay, we care about the GDP now. Whoa. It's so sneaky, the language that they use, right? Because he keeps on saying a tax increase. They want to pass a tax increase. We're not passing a tax increase. No one is increasing your taxes, okay? You're letting the expiration of a tax cut expire is not the same as passing a tax increase. For example, okay, during COVID, we all had to go online for school, okay? When we went back to in-person school, that wasn't us automatically now revolutionary. We had to go to in-person school for the first time, okay? That was us going back to the normal after some crazy freak thing happened for a couple years and kicked us out, okay? It's the same thing. We're not passing a tax increase. We're going back to the normal, the stable that was before the tax cuts. We've seen tax cuts before in the Reagan administration, in the Bush administration, and in Trump's first administration. And I'm not saying that these tax cuts are detrimental to the economy. They don't explicitly hurt the economy, but they do not do what they are purported to do, and that is the issue. If you are saying that your tax cuts are going to help the middle class, and then those very same tax cuts in question, 87.3% of households in the top 1.1%, that's almost everyone. Basically, the entire 0.1% got a tax cut. They're all chilling, okay? You want to know how many middle-class Americans got a tax cut? 20%. And they only saw an average tax cut of about $930. I can't even fathom $200,000 of taxes. Like that's some people's entire income multiplied by like 10. And like, I can't help but think, you know, Donald Trump wants to defund the IRS. I can't help but think if we had more IRS agents that were focusing on getting this money back, because if 87% of the top 1% had their taxes reduced by $200,000, how many people, like how much money could we be collecting from all of these billionaires? Like, I feel like there's a way in which billionaires can pay their fair share, and then the working class people wouldn't have to pay as much. I feel like there is a way that we can do that. But no, instead we get these tax cuts. And what do the tax cuts do? They add to the deficit, and that's a bad thing. I strongly recommend checking out the treasury.gov website if you haven't. It's so easy to use. But let's look at the deficit, right? This is the deficit as compared to revenue and spending. Yay! This is because we spend more than we take in. The last time that we took in more than we were spending was 2001 when Clinton balanced the budget. How do we calculate the deficit? Okay, deficit by year. So this was the deficit when Donald Trump first went into office, 0.67, okay? Then, before COVID, because everyone always wants to expunge 2020 from Donald Trump's record and not expunge 2021 or 2022 from Joe Biden's record, but okay, Donald Trump, you get the handicap. Even if I give it to him, Joe Biden still does better, but whatever. 2017, Donald Trump went into office with a $0.67 trillion deficit. 2019, he already increased it to $0.98 trillion. How do you increase the deficit by $0.31 trillion in 3 years when you got a booming economy and no like disasters. Like there was nothing going on. He had what's the excuse? There's no excuse. What's the reason? And then just fucking skyrocketed in 2020. Then Joe Biden comes in 2021. He's got 2.77. Then when he's leaving 2024, what is that? 1.83. Whoa, is that did he reduce the deficit by almost $1 trillion? Kind of impressive. Kind of impressive. The reason why tax cuts are like a double fuck, if you will, is because not only is only 20% of middle income houses seeing tax cuts, right? But also those middle income houses, those working class people, are suffering from the inflation that gets caused from the increased deficit. Because not only are you not taking in as much money because you're quite literally cutting taxes, so you're cutting how much money you're taking in, but Donald Trump also loves to add to the debt. For some reason, I know the reason. It's because deficit spending is really, really good in the short term. And so in the 4 years, it was so nice. It was so nice to be getting all of that money from the tax credits, to be getting all of that money from the stimulus checks, to be getting all of that money and just to be spending just however much you want. It feels so good in the moment, right? And then give it like 2 seconds, wait for your credit card bill to show up in the mail. And it's like, wait, fuck, I screwed myself over. I completely overbid. And that's exactly what happened. So Trump spent from 2017 to 2019, he added 2.5 trillion to the deficit. Okay, which probably would have been fine, honestly. Maybe probably wouldn't have been as harmful, okay, if not for COVID, where he had to increase by $4 trillion in spending, okay? And he didn't account for that. He's literally, oh my God, he's literally like a fucking teenager that got his first credit card. Like he just saw the credit card limit, just was spending, got into an emergency that he didn't realize that he was gonna have to save for, and then just fucked us all over and made us bankrupt after the emergency. And let's remember, this is supposed to be what Republicans care about. I'm not supposed to care about this. I'm not supposed to care about the deficit. I do, but like this isn't a left thing. This isn't like a Democrat thing. This has been Republicans for years upon years upon years being the watchdogs. You guys are spending too much on welfare. You guys are spending too much on this. You guys are spending too much on that. You guys are just giving the money away. And then you get Trump supporters like, well, I voted for Trump because he signed my check for me and he gave me money during the stimulus. Doesn't make any sense. Anyways, whatever. So again, just to reiterate, the middle class people are getting fucked over twice because not only are they not getting any of the tax cuts, but then they're also dealing with all of the inflation that is being caused by the increase to the deficit. Who is able to weather inflation? The rich people that can afford the extra cost, not the poor people that end up struggling. So once again, Trump voters have voted against their own interests, and once again, everyone in America will have to suffer the after results. Yay!